All right. I love the title of the sermon, Doing Fine Until. How much more apropos can that be? Sets us up perfect for what we're talking about today. We were doing fine until I got up with that mic. Now we had to switch around and we're back to doing fine. Well, today's text is all about some exciting advice for our lives. I love advice, don't you? I love it when someone says, let me give you a tip or an idea or give you some suggestions in life. I love to take some people's advice because they have had great experience. They've got some insight that they want to share that makes my life a whole lot easier, especially if they've traveled down a special pathway. They've gone there before and they can say, this is what I've experienced. Take my advice. This would be a good thing for you to do. Barbara Summers always says in class, her mother says, if I were you, I would maybe not or do this. She always takes the advice of her mother, and she shares that with us in our classes on Thursdays at 10 a.m. Well, today's text shares some powerful advice for us. Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Wow. In our world today, as spiritual beings, we're all about trying to move everything else because we want to move away obstacles. In fact, Scripture invites us to move mountains. Move those great things that may be in our pathway as obstacles or stones in the pathway that hold us back from our highest and best. So we're all about trying to move other things, but not let anything move us. Great advice. Stand firm, stand strong, be stable, be secure. In all ways is the information and the insight that's offered to us. And this message of the ancient wisdom of Scriptures is so key to success in our life. It is let nothing, absolutely nothing move you. To be that secure, that firm in our foundation of our believing is so powerful when we come to that place where we say, I don't care what it is, no wind, no rain, no storm, nothing that's coming up against me is going to rock my boat. I'm going to be firm and I'm going to stand strong. We have these wonderful promises of God. We refer to as the law, for God works in these wonderful ways called the law. Beautiful spiritual principles, the law of sowing and reaping. We know that as we sow, we reap. This is a beautiful promise. We can stand upon it. We can stand firm when we embrace these beautiful promises, when we embrace these spiritual laws in our lives, and we allow them to work for us. There's the law of attraction. So as you believe, so shall you receive. This is a spiritual promise. This is God at work within our hearts and our lives, saying that if you believe it with all of your heart, with firm foundation, standing strong, not letting anything cause you to waver, you shall receive. These are beautiful principles that enable us to be strong and firm in our stance. Now, today we find within us the unfolding of a beautiful text that's complementary to this, that re-emphasizes this. It's the story of Peter. I love this story of Peter walking on the water. I could preach on this, I think, 365, because there's so many nuances and beautiful truths within this, as in all scriptures. You ever find it that when you read a Bible story that you thought was so familiar to you, suddenly you found something new in it? Something new spoke to you? And you say, I think I've read that over and over. I've heard this. I think I've heard people preach about it over and over again, but something new jumps out at you. That's the beauty of spiritual truth. It's always unfolding some new nuances for our lives. There's this amazing story then of Peter who was walking on the water. It's told in the Gospels. It's mentioned in John. You'll find it in the book of Mark and also the book of Matthew. In the book of John, it's simply a story that says nothing about Peter walking, but it represents the story of those disciples out on the Sea of Galilee in a boat tossed in a storm. And Jesus sharing this message, the key words, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. How foundational that is, that thought. Remove all fear from our lives and you'll be able to stand strong. In Mark, the story is a little bit more elaborated. And we find that Jesus sees those struggling in the boat, the text says. That he actually sees the disciples in the boat being tossed to and fro and actually going through a struggle in their journey of their life. Emphasizing to us that the universe, all that is God, all that is of love, sees our struggles and knows. And then the complementary book of Matthew shares with us the story with greater detail yet. And that is Peter and his struggle getting out of the boat, walking on the water to engage with Jesus. And the key aspect of this chapter is, why are you doubting? Where is your faith? So it's don't be afraid in one. It's we see your struggles in this, and yet you can overcome those struggles. And the other is don't doubt. Have any questions within your heart or your life about what's going on. It's a story about the divinity within us that is calling us to step out of the boat of life, to step out of our safe places, to move into the realm of the miraculous. This is what we're called to do. You know what? Church, you are called not to ride in the boat across this life, not to go in the sense of this is the norm where everybody else is traveling, but to step out and do that which is outside of the norms of society and the world around us. To step out in great faith and believing for great things to happen within your life. Your life was meant to be a shining light and an example for the world. We sang it in our opening. We are the light of the world. We are that which is a shining beacon. A city up on a hill cannot be hidden, but radiates and shines brilliantly, illuminating the world. That's what you're called to be, not just the average Joe, but something exceptional. Sounds kind of strange, but how true that is. For everything within the Bible is calling you to an exceptional journey. Jesus, our great example, did not live the humdrum everyday life. He traveled, he spoke, he did the miraculous, he taught, he encouraged. He did the miraculous in so many ways that he began to be a controversial figure. Could you imagine today that if we all follow Jesus and his example, and we too were controversial figures in our world? Controversial figures of great faith and demonstration. The people began to say, I don't know how it is, but these people believe and they receive. These people believe and healing is theirs. These people believe and prosperity is theirs. These people believe and there are amazing things happening within their hearts and their lives. This is the call of God for our lives. This is the example for us. Now, there's a lot of focus in all these stories about Peter and his failure. Peter stepping out of the boat sounded so great, but we focus more on the fact that Peter was sinking. But I want us to bring us back to that moment to understand that Peter was brave enough, filled with faith enough, that he was willing to step out of the boat, step out of the norm. He got out of the boat and began to walk on the water, and he did accomplish that which his faith had set him out to do. There was a great sense of accomplishment for him. Yet in the midst of it, he was doing fine until he allowed the fears and doubts of the world around him to discourage him and to change his perspective. In the midst of fear, he was seeing Jesus demonstrate something wonderful. Now, the disciples and other people around said, this must be a ghost walking on the water. This is something, this is unusual. What's happening here? And the text is telling that Jesus, our master teacher, was demonstrating a higher power, an ability to overcome, to rise above all the obstacles of life. When we look at all the beautiful symbolism of this story, the waves and the water of this world are symbolized by that Sea of Galilee, tossing that boat to and fro. Jesus walking above it, walking in a way that it was the overcoming power which he demonstrated for each and every one of us and invited Peter to do the same. This is a beautiful example for us. It teaches us over and over again. Jesus is not the great exception. He's the great example. We have done a great injustice, unfortunately, by making Jesus an exception. Oh, I could never do what Jesus did. I could never be like Jesus. Who am I to even think that I could even go there or be there? Yet Jesus says, greater things than this shall ye do. Echoing that over and over again, that the call was, I am been showing you the way. Follow me and in so do as I have done. Demonstrate that there is a power within you, an ability to overcome, an ability to rise above the obstacles. But quite often, in our searching for spiritual growth, we become fearful of these new discoveries, because here is Jesus doing something the disciples had never seen before, coming across the waters. It's symbolic and demonstrating for us that when we are living and walking in this higher power, we're going to be doing some things that people may have never seen before. Something unusual happening in our lives as manifestors of people of great faith, of bringing about the miraculous within our world. Sometimes we get fearful, like those disciples, frightened by Jesus and the example of him walking on the water, frightened by something new happening. So often we are frightened in our spiritual growth about something new being taught to us, shown to us, revealed to us. Ooh, let's not get woogie. Let's not get crazy here. Let's not go off the deep end. Let's just stay where it's safe. Let's stay inside the boat. Let's not be invited to demonstrate anything miraculous within our hearts and our lives. Let's just be where it's safe and convenient for us in our lives. But we begin to see that Jesus demonstrated God in new ways. His great example to us is inviting us that we may too step out of these norms. Now it's interesting that Peter says, Jesus, if this is you, if this is really you, tell me to come out on the water. And Jesus says, come. Quite often we may be exposed to something new in a revelation of understanding of this powerful God and who God is within our lives as we begin to let go of some childish examples. You know, some of us grew up with Santa Claus and the wonderful stories of Santa Claus. We believe Santa's real. Then one day, we have a whole new image of Santa when we realize it's mom and dad bringing those gifts. But the message of generosity and love that's found within the Christmas and the story of Santa is still there. Yet we may be frightened about some sort of change, some sort of new thought, some sort of idea that comes to us, present us in a new way, and we want to hold back. But here it is, the very example that Peter is saying to us, if this is of you, O God, if this is of you, then invite me to come. And this very day, the Spirit of God is inviting us to go to a higher level, to do something unusual in our spiritual life, to step out of the norm in our faith, and to begin to trust and believe for greater things within the journey of our life, for all things are possible. Now, this is speaking to us to say, in many ways, let go of that contentment with what is just present within your journey. For Peter said, in essence, I want to be like you, Jesus. If this is you, then let me come out on the boat. Let me walk on the water too. Let me follow your example. Let me be exactly what you're demonstrating. Let me be just like you. Oh, the call of our hearts and our lives is that we too may be just like Jesus. In this wonderful way that we are demonstrating, we know that there is a power and a divinity within us. Now, Peter was doing fine. Everything seemed to be really great until this distracting wind began to blow. And in our world today, this is very symbolic of all kinds of distracting winds, the voices of others who would say, oh, don't do this, don't do that. You know, I'll tell you this. I started a diet. I lost 10 pounds. Please don't tell anyone you're on a diet. You know what they do to you when you tell them that you're on a diet? Oh, are you sure you should be eating that? If I were you, you're on a diet. You shouldn't have that. Oh, that cake, oh, that's not for you. You can't have that. Oh, this shouldn't be there for you. An extra portion? I don't think so. What happens is you want it all the more, don't you? Because they're telling you you can't have it. How silly that is. And so sometimes in our journey where we say in our faith that we want to step out and believe for something miraculous, don't people say, oh, you shouldn't have that. That's not going to be yours. Prosperity, blessing, healing? Oh, I don't think so. Oh, don't you know better than that? It's not going to happen for you. Why would you believe for great things? Don't you know who you are? And so it becomes those voices, like the wind that begins to disrupt our faith. We listen to these voices that constantly be there, our friends and family, associates, the world around us, spiritual leaders or teachers. They may try to say to us that which you've been believing for, it's not really going to be yours. You see, those winds of words are those that may want to challenge us and constantly disrupt that faith. This is what's so key and crucial in our life, is that we see Peter allowed something to disrupt his faith. He was doing great he was doing fine until he began to sink. And fine until he began to listen and paying attention to the circumstances around him. This is one of the big challenges we have in our spiritual life, is we're constantly looking at the physical elements around us and believing that those are the finest definition of our reality. They're not. We know, as we said here in the opening, that we believe that we are spiritual people having a physical experience. We're not physical people trying to have a spiritual experience. We are spiritual from the very beginning. Your soul that came to this world, birthed within this physical body, is a spiritual power and presence. You have been brought into this world. You've been created in this world. You have been made in this world for a spiritual purpose. And we look at everything from that perspective. We let go then that secondary are the physical appearances. So we look at these physical things of the wind that's rocking our boat in the world around us. And that may be the words or things or thoughts of others that begins to disrupt that faith that we've stepped out to believe for something wonderful. And we too are doing fine until something happens. I want to tell you this. There's something beautiful about faith. Faith is this energy within you of believing. It is truly a powerful force when you say, I believe, I believe, I believe. And right now, as we prepare for the Olympics, we find many Olympic athletes really working on their psyche, say, I can do this. I can do this. I know I can do this. They're professing it in interviews and the sports channels, and everybody's talking to them and saying, do you believe? How many have seen the commercial about the ice skater who has, 5 triple sow cows or something like that? No, never been accomplished until now. He is going to do something amazing in the Olympics. And every one of his interviews, he says, I believe I can. There's something powerful, a force within you, that his coach has said, when you step onto the ice, believing you can, you've got some sort of force within you that enables you to have a confidence to accomplish your great goal. I want to tell you this. When you begin to profess your faith that says, I can, I believe, I am, any of these kind of thought phrases that you begin to profess out loud, there is a power, there's an energy that comes within you that gives you a confidence to accomplish great and mighty things. Yet sometimes the wind blows, and suddenly we listen to it. There goes our confidence. We allowed it. We allowed that energy. We allowed that power. We allowed that wonderful strength that was within us to disrupt us, to move us. And we're no longer standing firm. We're no longer standing strong. We allow this distraction to happen. What's so important for us? What is crucial for us to remain as people of faith standing strong? What do you think it is that would make us be people of great strength, immovable? What it is the maintenance of our faith. Your faith requires maintenance. Peter had the power and the faith to do something unusual, stepping out of the boat, but suddenly it's weak, it's movable, it's shakeable, because that strength and power, that immovable maintenance of this I know that affirms day to day over and over again within our life was not there for him. Now, if we look at this story, we find that Jesus had completed some great miracles. He took this time away from the disciples. He sent them ahead in the boat, said, you go on ahead. But what was he doing? He was in a time of prayer, centering, meditation, finding the strength, doing his own maintenance of the power of work within him, that God is at work to do the miraculous. That's what enabled him to be the one who is this example of walking on water. And the same will be there for each and every one of us. For you to rise above the chaos of this world, to rise above the consciousness of this world that wants to toss you to and fro, for you to rise above it requires that you have maintained your faith, that you've done something that says, I'm going to keep this faith strong, consistent, vibrant, and alive within my life. It's so important that we get rid of those things that want to distract or hurt or wound or disable this power and energy within us that we call our faith. These are those negative thoughts and doubts that come our way, and we have to do everything we can to erase those things that are negative within our lives. It's almost as if in our spiritual life we may have spiritual cataracts. You know what cataracts are? You do. Some of you do. You've had them maybe removed. Or you face some cataract issues where your vision is being challenged. And we quite often will find those places where we've allowed some spiritual cataracts to form over our ability to see the miraculous with eyes of great faith. 1 Corinthians 13 says, for we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When we are centered, when we've done the maintenance, when we've spent this time with God, when we've done this moment of meditation, we find that we've reaffirmed that faith. We've strengthened it. And when this moment happens, it's like we become complete in that divine presence of God. And that which is fuzzy and uncertain begins to disappear from our lives. And the passage goes on to say, and now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. But we shall see face to face and know in part. And we shall be known. For we now see through a mirror darkly, but when then face to face, it's really referring to this, that we have an obstructed vision quite often in our lives as mortals, as human beings. We're not seeing the spiritual. We're constantly seeing just the physical. But when we have this time with God, we're invited to see a world from a whole new perspective and to see and be reassured and confident in faith with a spiritual vision that is unobstructed, perfect 2020 vision that sees and knows all things are possible. We release these doubts by doing something really powerful, by letting go and pouring in something in the affirmative. So today, you've been given an insert in your bulletins that's calling us to be manifestors of our highest desires, those things that we want to achieve in our world, in our life. That God is there to open the doors for your highest and best for you, eager and ready to give us all the blessings that are of God. Scripture tells us over and over again, this is the very promise. And this is the very law of operation that God works in. That God is generous, and the generosity of God is constantly available to us. We must tap into it by pouring in the affirmative. And here it suggests, and I'd like you to take note in this, so when you read through this handout, it's very clear that the key moments for us in our mind, in our heart of our spiritual life, are when we wake up and before we go to bed. Because in those waking moments, these are the key opportunities to influence your thoughts, your faith, your mind. So when you are fresh in the morning, you wake up, the very first thing you do is take these moments to offer these affirmations that are listed there. Take a deep breath and release everything else that may have been hindrance, and open your mind to say, I know that I know that I know the blessings, the goodness of God are there for me. I follow these affirmations. I go over them over and over again. Let my mind be strong in the power of knowing. And I've done some maintenance on my faith. Maintenance. It says my faith is renewed. It's strong again. It's the wind may come, the wind may blow, the boats of my life may be tossed to and fro, but I know that I know that I know. And I embrace this because I've reaffirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed these wonderful truths within my life. So I want to really encourage you that we consciously set our intentions, because the more we do this in our devotional life, the more we're going to be aware of opportunities. Opportunity. Do you know that? There's all kinds of opportunities. Here we find in the story Peter giving us a demonstration of an opportunity for us to rise above all the chaos of the waters, to rise above the troubles of the world, to rise above our struggles, to rise above in such a dynamic way that there is an opportunity there for us to do something incredible, to walk above it all, to be so empowered, to be strengthened. How wonderful it is that we understand that there are opportunities are available to us when we've done this faith maintenance. It's strong, it's believing, it's resting in this wonderful knowing. Now, I want you to understand that establishing this routine is so important for your life. Daily routines create a reality and our future ahead of us. These routines are important because we must replace the negative routines with positive routines. And we've got some negative ones. How about it? Maybe that you go to the mailbox. You open it up. There's a bill. Suddenly you're in a negative routine. Dag nabbit, here comes another bill. I can't pay this. More financial stress on my life. This is difficult. I don't know if I can do this. This is going to be... What are you going through? A negative routine of a litany of destructive, negative conversation that's destroying your faith. I'm going to encourage you to do something. When you receive those bills, would you just take them in the house, take out an ink pen, and draw a smiley face on each one? A smiley face, that says, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that the light company, the power company, believes in me enough that prosperity is mine, that they sent me a bill to pay. I'm so glad that they believe that I can do this, that their faith is saying, I sent you a bill, and I know you can pay it. That's why I sent it to you. I sent it to you believing that you can pay it. Now, isn't it funny? The bill collector knows, or the recipient of the finances knows and says, I am sending it to you believing you're going to pay it. And we're receiving it saying, I'm believing I can't pay it. Now, why is their faith stronger than ours? You see, if we draw this little smiley face on you, say, ooh, I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I got a bill. I got a bill that demonstrates I know that I can pay this. And my mindset, my faith is now renewed and strengthened. I've done some maintenance on my faith that says, I know that all things are possible. With God, the miraculous is unfolding in my life. And somehow, maybe unbeknownst to me, will be some unexpected income, some way. But I don't really need to be concerned as much as I know that I trust. And I begin to walk above the chaotic waves that this bill may try to present symbolically for my life. This bill may want to rock my boat. This bill may want to turn me over, flip me over, and drown me. But it's not possible because I know that the power of God is at work within my heart and my life. And I know that God is making a way where there seems to be no way. And I know that the miraculous has unfolded in story after story after story, a biblical example teaching me to be this person of faith that is immovable, standing strong, standing firm. And I take that advice in the midst of every storm that may come my way. We're invited to be like Jesus. But the world around us tells us, you can't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't even try. In fact, maybe we need to put on some people's Bibles, don't try this at home. Because that's the way they live. They read the Bible and say, oh, but don't try this at home. There's been a miracle, but don't you try it. Oh, there's a wonderful financial blessing, but don't you expect it? Because what is the Bible there for? It's been telling us how to live our life successfully, how to get out of the boat, how to do the abnormal, shall we say, the unusual, and to walk above the chaos that this world wants to bring us down in. So when we look at this, we must understand that the powerful words of this story are summed up in Jesus' very thought to Peter and to the rest of the disciples. Because the story ends. Not only did Peter begin to sink, but Jesus brought him into the boat. And both of them, in the story of Matthew, were in the boat together. And suddenly the conversation for everyone was Jesus saying, "Why do you doubt? Why do you doubt? Why do you disbelieve? Why are you questioning right now and saying, this ain't going to happen for me? Why do you believe that when all of the Scripture is so powerful, affirming within you over and over again of your divine ability, that you are created in the image and the likeness of God, and all that is of God is available for you, that the power and presence of the God is there to work in and through you at all times? Why do you doubt?" You hear that over and over again, and if you've read your Bible, you've read story after story affirming these very lessons, and the examples are there for us, calling us, this is how you live your life. You live your life in this life of faith that jumps, doesn't slip out of the boat, doesn't sort of crawl along the side, doesn't sort of hang and cling to the edge, but gets out and moves above the waters. Walks, dances, jumps, shouts, celebrates. Why do we doubt when everything tells us there is a power within us that is overcoming? Yet we still doubt and question because we listen to the wind. We allow the wind to distract us. We listen to the words of others and the appearances of everything around us that wants to constantly tell us, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to work. You're sinking. You're falling deeper and deeper. Yet when we claim with the affirmative that everything is going to be fine, when we begin to do the maintenance on our faith that says, I have stepped out, I've started walking, I am going to continue walking in the divine way. I'm going to rise above the waters and I'm going to continue walking. I am not sinking, I'm doing fine. And there won't be I'm doing fine until it'll be doing I'm fine always and at all times. So stop listening to the wind that is distracting. Maintain your faith, and every day know that nothing, absolutely nothing, can move you. This is God's word. This is your advice today. Amen.